Got it. Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everyone. The Second Region Child Protection Court number 1, Hardin County, is now in session. There are still several who are coming.
And Your Honor,
virtual courtroom. Good morning. Good morning, Ms. McPherson.
Your Honor, I just wanted to let you know if the background looks familiar and the name shows up as someone else. Yes, I'm over here at Miss Stanley's house because the internet connection, even yesterday when I was trying to do a Zoom mediation, was horrible. So instead of not anybody being able to hear me, I'm here. So
Okay.
is Miss Stanley. I just wanted to let everybody be aware of that.
Right. Very, very good. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Stanley.
Yeah.
P and AP for continuation of hearing on motion, parents' motion for placement. All right. So it looks like the Perkins are here. Let me call for Amanda Denman Perkins and Jimmy Perkins.
Yes, sir. We're here.
Okay, thank you. If I could get Mr. Perkins screen for a moment to announce his appearance.
We need you to announce your appearance here.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. You all can go back to mute for the time being, and that'll also give you some time to kind of get stationary. So, as I said a moment ago, the court has the hope and the expectation that we can finish this hearing today. Recall that the rule has been invoked. Everyone who is present virtually is in the virtual courtroom right now. So we have Ms. Benjamin, LPC, and also Ms. Balderas Allison, whom I believe I swore in to come back today. So, do we need to take these witnesses out of order, out of respect for their time and the efficiency of the hearing?
Yes, Your Honor. I know Ms. Balderas Allison has to be out by 11:30 for sure. So, and it's something she can't reschedule. So,
Okay.
I wouldn't have an issue with taking the witnesses out of order.
Okay. Any objections to calling Ms. Balderas Allison at this point? And we'll come back to Ms. Perkins' testimony.
And Your Honor, I believe Ms. Benjamin has to leave by 3. Is that correct, Ms. Benjamin?
No, that have changed by noon, 12 o'clock today. That was for last week.
Okay, so you also have to leave by noon today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Ms. Benjamin. So again, since the rule has been invoked, I'm going to place Ms. Robertson, Ms. Benjamin in the virtual waiting room. The rule means that while this hearing is pending, you can't talk to anyone about the case except an attorney on the case. It also means that you cannot be privy to the testimony of other witnesses while they're testifying. So since we are proceeding remotely today, that means that we're also live streaming on YouTube in order to maintain public access and open courts. So given the rule, that also means that you can't listen on YouTube, of course. So we'll put you in the virtual waiting room. We'll let you know when you're called. It might give you some time to maybe multitask while you're waiting, but we do thank you and appreciate your time and your input. So I'm going to place Ms. Robertson in the waiting room and Ms. Benjamin. Thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Walker or Ms. McPherson, you may proceed.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
Now, are you employed with any organization, or are you in private practice?
I'm a contract worker with Comprehensive Treatment Solutions.
Okay. And what is your educational background?
I have a master's in social work and a bachelor's in psychology. And again, I'm been licensed as a clinical social worker.
Okay. And as part of your licensing, do you often have to say update your training, attend additional training hours?
Yes,
Per year?
yes. Per every 2 years, we have to be have our continuing education and to get recertified or update our license.
Okay. And as to this case, how are you involved with this case?
I have been assigned as the therapist for Miss Amanda Denman and Mr. Jimmy Perkins.
Okay. And in that capacity, first of all, did you do any type of evaluations or assessments in regards to how you were going to, I guess, provide therapy for them?
Yes, ma'am. I've completed the psychosocial assessment on them.
Okay. And now, what did that psychosocial consist of?
It's an assessment that asks present and historical information, including background, mental health history, substance abuse, legal, just a well-rounded assessment.
Okay. And first of all, starting with, I guess, Miss Perkins, did you complete the assessment that you were just describing in regards to her?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was the results of your assessment?
The result was what I'd recommended for her to continue to begin individual therapy and continue with drug abuse. Alcohol and drug testing. I'm so sorry, drug testing, and believe that was all.
Okay.
Right.
And now you said the first thing was to begin independent therapy. Is that correct?
Individual therapy.
Individual. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And now would that follow-up have been with you?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
With me. Mm-hmm.
All right. And did Miss Perkins follow up with you as far as her sessions?
Yes, she has. She completed 3 sessions.
Now, was that the recommended amount of sessions, or is there a particular number, or just when you feel like she's grasping whatever concepts you're trying to work with her on?
For conservatorship cases, the minimum number of sessions to be completed is 12. And sessions are twice a month, so every other week. At the 12th session, again, normally this is when we get the referrals when the case has been opened. Then at that time, we can determine, if further sessions are needed or so forth.
Okay. And why do you recommend 12 sessions?
Again, if the referral is received at the beginning of the case, that will bring it at a 6-month mark. And that would just coincide with CPS. If they're, looking at making some recommendations or anything, then we would have had a good 6 months of therapy to see, again, which way to proceed.
Okay. And as far as these sessions, what do you cover during the sessions? Well, let me be more specific. What have you covered up until this point in the 3 sessions?
Okay. After I received the referral and after I completed the psychosocial assessment, the prior caseworker had asked that I complete the parenting classes with them, which I do quite frequently. So that was going to be the main thing, was to do the parenting classes with them. So with that, with the 3 that we've done, the first individual session after the psychosocial, I always review the court affidavit with the parents to.
I don't see the parents, Your Honor.
Well, I believe they must have gotten disconnected.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I didn't see the parents anymore.
I have a chat that came through, I guess shortly. It says they're trying to get with a better signal. They may need to turn their camera off. So I guess maybe it zonked them.
Okay. All right. So we'll continue.
Okay. You may continue, Ms. Valderas, Allison.
Okay, so the first individual session, I focused on reviewing the court affidavit with the parent. This is to assist them in taking full responsibility for their actions for this case. I do ask that question in the psychosocial assessment. And at that point, I typically don't ask any questions besides what happened. And then I use that to further explore what occurred, and then for them to be able to share more and take, accountability. And then the other two, which we started the parenting classes, which focused on child abuse education.
Okay. Now, in reviewing the affidavit with Ms. Perkins, you said that one thing that you attempt to accomplish is to help the parents see and take responsibility for what has happened with their children.
Mhm.
And did you feel like once you completed that session that Ms. Perkins did understand what her role was?
Yes, ma'am. She actually was pretty detailed in the psychosocial assessment. When I asked her initially, she was pretty detailed and took responsibility for what she had done and so forth. So just using the affidavit was just kind of a reviewing and looking at, a couple of things. But I mean, yeah, she did take responsibility.
Okay. And now, so you said the second class would start the actual parenting classes, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So she's completed 2 parenting classes, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you said there are 12 sessions. Well, let me ask this question. Based on your parenting classes, do you assess whether or not a parent is ready for their child to be returned?
Yes, after completion of the 12 sessions, again, as I stated, that provides a very, good understanding of where they are in therapy. I normally, and I do discuss with caseworker, if there's been any concerns. Before COVID, I would actually go out and observe some of the visits with the family, again, to get a better perspective of their interaction with their children. It's been very difficult, of course, doing things by virtual. So I just gather a lot of information, yes, to make that decision.
Okay. And are your sessions with Ms. Perkins, are they virtual?
Yes, they're virtual. They were virtual. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And based on just the 3 sessions that you've had so far, are you able to make a recommendation as to whether or not?
I'm not able to make a recommendation after just 3 sessions.
Okay. And with only 2 of those being parenting classes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, as to Mr. Perkins, are you seeing him as well?
Yes.
And do you see them both at the same time or individually?
Individually.
Okay. And how many sessions have you had with Mr. Perkins?
The same, 3.
And I know, again, you said you reviewed the affidavit to assess whether or not the parent understands their role and why the child or children were removed. Did you review the affidavit with Mr. Perkins?
Yes, I did.
And did you feel that he understood what his role was in the removal of
Yes.
the children?
And again, when I asked initially in the psychosocial assessment about what occurred, he gave pretty good detail.
Okay. And how many classes, again, or sessions has he completed?
The same.
The same. Okay. And at this time, are you able to, based on the 3 sessions, make a recommendation as to whether or not the parent is prepared or ready to have the child or children returned to him?
I am not.
And why do you require the 12 sessions and is there at any point that you could recommend prior to the end of the 12 sessions, such as, okay, we've had 6 or 7 sessions, or is it very important that the full 12 sessions be completed?
I can possibly make a recommendation at 10 sessions. Again, considering what else has been going on in regards to their services. But that would be the soonest I would be able to.
Okay. And you said in regard to their services. So do you also take into consideration not just the counseling or sessions that you're doing, but other services that the parents need to complete or have completed?
Yes, I do take that into consideration because I feel it all goes together.
Okay. Okay. I'll pass the witness, Shauna.
All right, thank you, Mr. McCatherine.
Hello, Miss Allison. I'm Brian McCatherine, and I represent Amanda Denman or Amanda Perkins. Thank you for being here today. What are you hoping to accomplish in the individual therapy that you recommended for Amanda?
Again, the focus was on the parenting, looking at the parenting classes to help them to understand the importance of being protective of her children, understanding what child abuse is, and being able to implement some of the skills that would be taught during the parenting.
And so, how would that different from the family therapy that you also recommend?
Family therapy, when I make recommendation for family therapy, it is typically between the 2 parents. So then that way they can understand again how they can support each other to be protective of their children, support each other from what they've learned, and again in regards to parenting.
Okay. Does any of that address any type of alleged family violence between the 2 parents?
Yes, I believe that was an allegation. So yes, that definitely would be addressed because again, it would be could possibly affect the parenting of both of them.
So when you say it was an allegation, is that an allegation that was brought to your attention by the department or by one of the parents?
But I'm not 100%. I believe it may have been in one of the referral materials that we received.
Did Amanda Denman or Amanda Perkins ever disclose to you that there was family violence in their household?
No, she denied when I asked.
Okay. And did you doubt her veracity whenever she told you that?
No.
You had indicated that Amanda had completed 3 sessions, correct?
Correct.
And there was still some work left to do, and that they had made 2 parenting classes, or the second and third sessions were parenting, correct?
Correct, yes.
How many more of the individual therapy would go toward or be considered parenting classes?
So they would need 6 more. There to receive a certification for parenting, 8 classes need to be completed.
Okay. And so you're going to be able to continue those services, right?
No.
Why not?
Because I was informed that CPS can only utilize providers in their county to provide virtual services. And I'm in Galveston County.
Okay, so would you say it's impossible then for Amanda to complete the task with you of completing her individual and family therapy, including the parenting classes?
That's correct.
Would Amanda have to essentially start over with her therapy? Are you able to transfer what you've done to another therapist?
That would be up to the receiving therapist.
How often does that occur?
I'm not quite sure.
In fact, have you ever done that where you've started it and handed it off to another therapist in a CPS case?
Yes, I have.
And what has to happen to effectuate that?
Different circumstances. It could be if the client is not compliant, not following through on appointments, making appointments, canceling. It could be if the client is not participating, or maybe being aggressive, maybe being disrespectful, things of that nature. Or there could just be maybe the therapist and client is just not developing that rapport, not developing it's not a good match.
Okay, so I guess really my question would be, how do you make the transition happen or successful to where you hand off to this other therapist and they are able to pick up? How do you make that happen?
In my position, I would inform, her name is Vanessa Palicki. She's the owner of Comprehensive Treatment Solutions. I would discuss with her and explain the situation. And then she, in turn, would see if there was another therapist in our group that would be able to continue.
You had mentioned the words compliant and participating. Can you explain for Judge Lockwood, Ms. Didman's participation with you? Do you find her as being compliant and willing to participate?
Yes, I do. I explain to her, as I do all my clients, how these are, their services. So they need to be responsible in making sure that these appointments are being scheduled. And I encourage them to keep in contact with me, to let me know if there's anything going on, work schedules or whatsoever. And she has been, she was very, calling me, let me know if she was not able to make it or had an appointment or something. Yeah, she was one of my better actually clients and keeping in contact with me.
When was the date of the last session that you had with Amanda?
It was September the 20th.
So how come you haven't had any since then, between September 20th and now?
Right. So we had the 20th. My last authorization that I had from CPS ended on September the 29th. So in order for us to continue, we need to receive a new updated authorization. And I believe at that point, I reached out to the caseworker. And I know at that time I was was not working as much because I had some issues, some personal family issues. And I believe I spoke with Miss Heather a couple of days before the hearing in October. And I had asked for the updated 2054 at that time, since I was actually speaking with her.
Did you ever receive that 2054?
No, when I followed up on it, then that's when she and Heather was trying to provide one for me, actually in the system, trying to get it. That's when she learned that she was not able to because I was out of the county.
So starting, and was this accurate? Starting September the 20th or thereabouts, your sessions or your authorizations had expired, and about that time you reached out to the department for another authorization, correct? Correct.
I'm just not sure what timeline. Like I said, I was having some family issues, and it may not have been like on the first or something, but I eventually did. But I do recall, because I was speaking to Ms. Heather, that I said, oh, I need to get that authorization.
So even if Amanda wanted to continue sessions with you at that time, she would not be able to because the authorizations has expired.
That is correct.
Just out of curiosity, this issue with the out-of-county authorizations and department policy, or whatever the controlling body is, how are you guys going to handle that on these cases that you have where you've invested time with these patients, and now you're going to have to just punt because the state or whomever decided that they weren't going to fund this anymore?
I guess we're just going to have to deal with it as it comes, because we never know what's going to happen. As in this case, they, were in Galveston County, so they started there, and then of course, due to their need to move, they had to move. So we won't we're just going to have to, my opinion, we're going to have to deal with it when it occurs, because I don't think this is something that we're able to foresee, unless the parent does say, oh, there's a good chance I'm going to be moving, then we could possibly do something before.
Okay. I noticed in your report that you were able to, you made a diagnostic impression for Miss Denman. Do you recall what that was?
Yes.
What was that?
Adjustment disorder unspecified.
And can you explain what that is? What does that mean?
That basically means experiencing maybe maybe a little bit of depression, maybe a little bit of anxiety, just having a little bit of difficulty mainly adjusting to a situation. And it's very common in these CPS cases that parents are experiencing a lot of different issues going through this.
And so your professional assessment and recommendation, you believe that disorder would be addressed through these sessions that were individual and family sessions that you had recommended. Is that correct?
Yes, and it also will will help is this is a diagnosis for most that can be resolved after the situation that they're experiencing is resolved. Then they typically can go return back. But yes, in regards to what you're asking, because some, again, like I said, experience stress, anxiety, maybe a little bit of depression during this time. So yes, talking about ways to handle those types of feelings and those types of situations.
You had a short body of work to work from with those 3 sessions. Do you believe that Amanda made progress during those 3 sessions?
I think that she was on the right track in, again, being following up, trying to, keep in contact with me, trying to get those sessions going. And then the ones that she did attend, she did participate really well. And she shared and talked, so she did well in those 3.
You feel that she was engaged and not just going through the motions?
Exactly.
Are there any recommendations that you would make going forward? I guess now that since you aren't going to be the therapist, or are you going to be the therapist going forward?
The only recommendation that I could make is that for her to continue, to complete her services.
Has Amanda discussed with you the possibility of continuing to use you for future sessions, even though you may not be, I guess, in network?
She asked, and it would have to be, self-pay. However, unfortunately at this time, I'm not able to provide a charity case, so to say.
Pro bono, we were calling
exactly. At this time, if my caseload was bigger and I had more, I would most definitely, be able to consider that. But right now I'm not able to.
How frequent are your sessions, or how would you recommend how frequent they be?
Again, we had sessions every other week, so it was twice a month.
Okay, and so private pay, how much would your fee be per session?
My normal?
Your rate?
My normal rate would be $100.
Okay.
I did tell them I could do 45.
Okay. Miss Allison, thank you. I'm going to pass you as a witness. Thank you for being here and helping. Appreciate it. Pass witness, Ron.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Hi, Mrs. Allison. I represent Jimmy Perkins. First things first, when were you contracted with the department to provide services for the Perkins?
I received the referral on July the 5th.
Of 2023, I assume.
Yes,
And when you received the referral, do you have any information about how long the case had been pending?
No.
Okay, so as far as you know, it's a new case, it's viable, and it's in need of some form of services.
Exactly.
Okay. And do the clients reach out to you, or do you make contact with them, or is it kind of a mixed bag?
Normally the therapist reaches out, but there are many times that the parent would reach out because they have our information on their family plan service.
And in this particular case, do you have any recollection of how the initial contact transpired?
I believe I was on vacation when I received the referral. And I did finally, I reached out and we were scheduled for July the 14th.
And did the session on the 14th occur?
It did not. Well, no, it did not. And that was due to, let me take that back. That was not for Mr. Perkins.
Oh, okay. So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, that's all right. The question is going to be, when was the first scheduled meeting with Mr. Perkins?
I was having some trouble reaching Mr. Perkins with his phone. So I was communicating with Ms. Perkins to schedule that.
Okay. And for practical purposes, they're one unit, they live together, they're married. So it's not uncommon to communicate through the other party, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when was Mr. Perkins' first appointment?
Okay. It was on August the 2nd.
Okay. And was that appointment attended by Mr. Perkins?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And then the second appointment was when?
It was August the 16th.
Also attended by Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
And then we have two more, if my notes indicate. When would the third appointment have been?
September the 20th.
Okay. Pretty big time frame between the second and third, correct?
Yes.
Can you explain why there was such a lapse in time, or do you have that in your notes?
It was due to his work schedule.
Okay.
And I explained to them again with Mr. Perkins and with Miss Perkins is that for them to contact me if he got off early or if he had a day off or anything, and then I would do my best to schedule him in.
Okay. The fourth date was when?
28th
Of August?
of September.
Okay. And do we have one more, or was that it?
No, that was it.
That's what my notes indicate. Okay. So of those 4 visits, was Mr. Perkins' interaction with you appropriate?
Yes, it was.
Did he have a level of understanding as to the needs of his children and what his shortcomings were with respect to his parenting styles and ability?
Honestly, I do not recall really exploring that with him since these are the beginning stages.
It's fair to say that we haven't gotten that far into it, correct?
That's very correct.
All right. So what we can most possibly elucidate for the court is they made every appointment they were supposed to make. They were timely, they were involved, and they were interested in participating, right?
Exactly.
That's really all that can be gleaned from you and these parents' interaction because there's been such a limited amount of it.
Correct.
I guess except for their desire to further continue with you. Did you feel like you developed a rapport with them?
Yes, I did.
Did you find out initially that they were somewhat distrustful of maybe people that they may perceive as being in the system?
Yes.
Is that common?
Very common.
Didn't take long though for you guys to reach a type of understanding where they could open up in an appropriate fashion so they could perhaps get the type of therapeutic results that are needed, right?
Correct.
Okay. At this point in time, you haven't seen enough of Mr. or Mrs. Perkins to make any form of recommendation for these courts.
That is correct.
You can't say they need more, they need less, or they need any at all, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if someone were to come in and say, well, they need to continue what you started, you can't say that, can you?
Okay, I'm sorry. In starting what?
If there were to be testimony developed in this case that says, Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Perkins need more of the type of counseling they were receiving in Galveston County. You can't say they need more of it, can you?
As I stated earlier, I would say the only thing I would be able to say comfortably would be that they should continue with their service plan.
Okay. And exactly what was your intended goal if there was to have been completion?
So they would have completed and received the parenting certification. And then I would have had some sessions with both Mr. and Mrs. Perkins to look at how they both can support each other in being protective of their children, of what they've learned through the parenting classes, what they've been learning throughout with all their services, and again, how to put everything in place to be protective of their children.
And did I understand your testimony initially that said pre-COVID, you made it a practice of watching the parents interact with their children?
Correct.
Was that a pretty important element of your practice and your therapy?
I feel it really is.
Is the interaction important for the children as well as for the therapist?
Yes.
What would you think about parents that haven't seen their children in almost a year?
That is concerning, but I would also have to understand the reason why.
Well, in a nutshell, if the children's behavior were such a nature that they were finding difficult placements or the department was finding it difficult for suitable placements and had to place these children several hours away.
As that being the reason why they were not able to visit?
Objection to speculation.
No, that's a direct question, Ms. McPherson.
Overruled.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I continue?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
may.
Okay. From my understanding, when children are placed away from the parents, that there tends to be ways where the department can insist in getting the children to the visits, maybe halfway points or something of that nature.
And the reason for that is that contact with parent and child is crucial.
It is. I agree.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much for showing up today. I'm cognizant of your time restraints, and I won't keep you any longer.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
All
I
right.
pass the witness.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson.
Yes, Miss Allison, is that how I would pronounce, say your name? I represent the children in this case. I'm the attorney ad litem in this case. And when were the visits? Were your appointments, the second appointment with Miss Amanda? And did she go by Miss Perkins or by Miss Denman in your sessions?
Both. I have Miss Denman on the paperwork from the department. Okay, her
Initial visit was?
July 18th. That was the psychosocial assessment.
And is that the one where she was originally set for 714?
Correct.
And what happened with the 714?
Okay. Okay. She was not able to take her lunch break at that time.
Okay, so her first one was the assessment on July 18th, and then her second appointment was when?
Then we scheduled for the following Tuesday, the 18th. Looks like it would have been July 18th.
And so that was her initial psychosocial assessment.
Okay,
right?
but then but on that day, on that Tuesday, that did not happen because she was coming back from court, and she was not able to have privacy.
And what day was that?
That was on Tuesday, the July 18th. I'm sorry. I'm not sure she was coming from court, but she was in a vehicle. She was not at home for privacy. Okay, then she did call me when she arrived home, and we started, but then her phone dropped due to her phone, and so then we rescheduled for the next day.
Are you saying that would be 7/19 for the initial assessment? To continue the initial assessment?
Okay. I am so sorry. My dates are really off, and I apologize because we actually met on July the 18th. Okay, that's when we actually had the psychosocial assessment. So all this what I'm explaining occurred before that time. So we did have another appointment. Her phone dropped. We were not able to do it.
And when was that?
So that must have been on must have been on Monday, the 17th.
Okay, as far as her follow-up visits, when was the appointment where you did the review of the affidavit with them?
That was on August the 2nd.
And how long of an appointment are those typically?
60 minutes, maybe 45 minutes to 60 minutes.
And then the next appointment?
Was on September the 6th. Yeah, September the 6th.
And then her next appointment?
September the 20th.
So while you say they're supposed to, okay, so the 12 sessions of individual therapy and parenting, you said 12 sessions of individual therapy and 8 sessions for parenting for each parent. Is that correct?
That is correct, in that in order for a parent to get the certification for the parenting, we have to do 8 sessions. I do combined it with my individual therapy sessions because that, number one, would take very long time for them to complete like that. And so the way that I do it is in bringing up and talking about a parenting topic. Many times that opens up to other issues that, if you were to divide it, could have been discussed in an individual session. So I continue with that, and I allow that, and we just we do it together.
So is there in between those appointments? So up until September 28th, Ms. Denman was seen on July 18th. You've got, they could have had another session in there, couldn't they have? To a month, is that correct? Even if there was no other referral?
For September?
Yes, ma'am.
For Amanda,
August, September, and July?
August, yes. In September, she did complete the 2 in September.
Could she have had another one in July?
I believe we were going to. Yeah, I was not available that second week, that in July, the last week of July.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, so you diagnosed Ms. Denman with adjustment disorder. In coming up with that diagnosis, did you rely on her responses to the questionnaires, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And did you review any other type of evaluations prior to you making that diagnosis?
No, that was from my assessment.
And that's coming straight only from each parent, correct?
That's correct.
So if I told you that there were previous diagnoses of bipolar or, ADHD, and things of that nature, could that change your diagnosis?
No.
And why not?
Unless I were to had really did an assessment for that.
Okay, so you didn't do an assessment for that. What type of assessment would you have needed to make those type of diagnoses?
I do two assessments that look for depression and anxiety, as those are the main, diagnosis. So if a parent, and I always ask about any type of past diagnosis.
And so you rely on their honesty and forthcoming with any prior diagnosis, correct?
Yes, I take what they tell me. And if later, if I come across, because many times they do get psychological evaluations completed and sometimes psychiatric evaluations completed, I do get those copies and review them with the parent. And if there is.
Correct. And how important is it for your therapy sessions for parents to be 100% honest in your assessment and a psychological and a psychiatric evaluations for you to give the proper therapy for these parents?
It's very important for every parent to do that.
And also, would it be very important that they be completely honest as far as the type of fighting in the home?
Yes, and let me add to that. That is the expectation that we have. All parents would be honest, 100% honest and open, especially, during the psychosocial assessment, during the beginning. However, that doesn't always happen for different reasons. However, after time and working with the parent and getting to know them and developing trust, then those things tend to come out and then can be addressed.
And so in this case, with the limited amount of time that you've been able to meet with the parents, you're just starting that relationship.
Exactly.
And at this time too, if you've read the affidavit, and I would imagine you've read the entire affidavit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so in talking with the parents, and even in your assessments, if they didn't address everything that was in that affidavit, does that also kind of hinder the proper therapy for these parents? And that might come out later in future sessions.
Right. And I guess it depends on exactly what.
Well, for Miss Denman, she in your psychosocial assessment, you said that she disclosed her mom's unexpected death in April. She relapsed on meth in August. She said a friend was mad at her and called CPS. And when they came out to investigate, she told them to come back with a court order. They returned a month later, informed her they were trying to have legal involved. They returned another month later with a court order. And that during that time, they had placed their children with a paternal aunt due to them having financial issues. CPS found this aunt to have a prior CPS removal, so the children were placed in emergency shelter. Then they were placed with their father, ex-wife's daughter for 30 days and placed in a foster home. Now, if it was in the affidavit that there was a whole lot more information in that affidavit than that, correct?
If I recall correctly, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Ms. McPherson, you mentioned August. That would have been of 2022?
Correct, Your Honor.
Right, thank you.
And did they disclose or have any information for you about what the allegations of someone in the house and in the attic and Mr. Perkins shooting at the attic and the children being afraid of this person in the attic, and that there was all the prior investigations and some of the reasons to believe a physical injury to a child? Does that all go into what they would need for therapy?
Are you asking if they would need to be able to
acknowledge
acknowledge
the things that have occurred in their home for them to get the proper therapy to address why the children were removed?
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And why they were removed a second time.
Yes.
Now, hang on, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Okay, while you're doing that, Ms. McPherson, Ms. Balderas Allison, You have made only diagnostic impressions, not diagnoses, correct?
It's listed as diagnostic impressions, correct, but I am able to provide a diagnosis.
All right. And have you made a diagnosis or diagnoses in this case?
It's what I have listed on the psychosocial assessment. I guess it's just that wording, the way that it is. It's listed as diagnostic impressions. Honestly, it could be changed as diagnosis because I am able to make diagnosis.
All right, but you agree there's a difference between an impression and a diagnosis?
Yes.
Okay. So are you saying, and I don't have the report in front of me, of course, but are you saying what's listed as your diagnostic impression is at this point what you would consider your diagnosis or diagnoses?
That's correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you. You may continue, Ms. McPherson.
Yes. Going back to that, though, your diagnosis or your diagnostic impression, you said that it was based on your 2 assessments for depression and anxiety only at this time, correct?
That and all the information that I gathered of what had occurred and so forth.
And what information did you gather that you were able to review?
The reason for the referral, just the history of what has been going on, family history, as I stated, legal history, drugs and alcohol, just all those areas.
And all of that was, for the most part, received from the parents themselves, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, again, you weren't able to review any other type of prior psychologicals, any psychiatric evaluations, any substance abuse evaluations, any other type of evaluations that have been done either in their previous case or in this current case. Is that correct?
That's correct. I did not receive any of those.
So your diagnosis could change based on review of all of that information to give a clear picture for the court.
If I had access to any of those past reports, there's a possibility that I could have, if they have a different diagnosis, there's a possibility I could have put that diagnosis under my diagnostic impression, but stating that it came from a psychological dated X time or whatever. It would not be mine, but I would be referring to that. That's a possibility.
And again, at this time, and you said it's going to be, you've reduced your fee, although you can't do pro bono. You have agreed with the parents to reduce your fee to $45 an hour per parent per session.
Right, but they're not able to pay that.
And again, you've never met with the children or seen the children, correct?
That is correct.
And you believe that it is very important before you could even make a recommendation that they continue with these therapy sessions, the parenting classes, and work on their services. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I'll pass you as a witness.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Walker, back to you. Any other questions?
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Mr. McCatherine, Mr. Crocker.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Wait, I think I do have. I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question. Miss Valderas, Allison, did the parents ever tell you why they were leaving the county or moving away?
I believe it was due to job.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker. Any other questions?
Your Honor, I have no other questions of this witness.
All right. Thank you. May this witness be excused. Okay, Ms. Valderas Allison, thank you very much for your time, your patience, and your assistance in this matter. You are excused. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you. You too.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Walker or Ms. McPherson, you may proceed.
And what type of, what are you in this case?
I am the therapist for the girls, and I've been seeing them since they were placed with Miss Tiffany Burton's home.
Okay, and what type of licenses do you currently hold?
I'm a licensed professional counselor with the state of Texas.
And are you currently, where are you employed?
I have a private practice, and I get contract from different foster agencies, and I provide therapy for foster children in their homes.
And how long have you been doing that?
For the past 7 years, I've been doing that.
And what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in sociology and a master's in biblical counseling.
And have you testified in court before?
Yes, I have.
And have you provided any expert testimony in any cases in any courts?
Yes, I used to work for the department as a conservatorship worker. And after that, since I've been doing my private practice, I have testified for some of my other cases.
So how long were you a conservatorship worker?
For 3.5 years, 4 years. That probably was like 10 years ago.
Okay. But since then, you have been a counselor for children in foster care. Can you give an estimate of how many children that you've counseled over the years?
Wow. When I left CPS, I worked for a psych hospital with foster kids, and then I went to private practice. Wow, probably more than 100 kids.
Okay.
So yes.
So let's get into this case. When did you first see the children in this case? And we know that there's Miss Pauline and Miss Stormy and Miss Avery. Is that correct?
Yes. Since June 12th of this year.
And how often did you meet with the children?
Weekly.
Where did you meet with the children?
In the foster home at Miss Tiffany Burton's home.
And what type of therapy did you provide for these children?
I am not a certified play therapist. However, I do play therapy activities with them, allowing them the opportunity to use play, art, so they can process and be educated about what's been going on with them.
And let me just remind everyone at this point to try to use the children's initials.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir.
And so during the play therapy with the children, AP, SP, and AP, what type of activities did you do with each of the children?
We are coloring, melted beads. We do, there's a fun one we called M&M games. It allows them to process their feelings. It has different feeling activities, and we do feeling flashcards. We do board games and role playing, psychoeducation and worksheets, a lot of different things to help them.
And in that therapy, does that also include what we consider the trauma-informed therapy?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
And
a lot of CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy, and allowing them to talk, and grief therapy also, because when they like AP, SV, and SP, they shared about a lot of some of the things that happen in their home, and a lot of going to different foster homes. Those create some trauma, a lot of trauma. So we had a chance to process those in therapy with them.
And I know today we're here for a, placement hearing. Well, let's go back a bit. What is trauma-focused cognitive behavior? What does that involve?
When it's for each kid is different, and some of my clients, especially those children, there was a lot of domestic dispute apparent from where they came from. So we were focused on a lot on that with them, and some of the trauma of physical trauma with them and what they observe in the home. And so we process those things. And some kids is sexual behavior trauma, and others is more emotional, some is physical. So it depends on the cases. But with these children, there was a lot of verbal, physical dispute. So we focus more on them processing what they have seen and experienced with their parents.
And that's with their parents?
Yes.
And so, again, we're here for a placement hearing, and I know that going through their therapy sessions, first of all, let's go with SP. you started seeing her on June 12th. Is that correct? And
Yes.
when was your last visit with Miss SP?
Last night, late last night. Yesterday, I know that Thanksgiving is coming, and I am trying to see all of my clients before Thanksgiving, just giving them the opportunity to process, because I know it might be a tough time for all of them. And so last night yesterday afternoon, I called the foster mom and asked them if I can quickly have a visit with them before today.
So how long did you visit with them yesterday?
1 hour each.
1 hour each.
Yes.
And so I understand that was last night. So
Yes.
you haven't been able to type up your notes. Is that correct?
Not that one.
Okay. But you actually sent to everybody in this case the notes that we didn't have from last time, from November 1st, November 8th, and November 15th. Is that correct?
Yes, usually the notes are due the following month, like the first week of the following month, since the month is not over. So I quickly typed them so I could have sent it to you guys.
Okay, thank you, because you knew how important it was for this
Yes.
today.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's kind of go through it with SP. You had the first one that was, so you kind of had an introduction. So what did you do with SP on the first visit?
The first visit, it's mostly getting to know them, getting some information with them, and building a rapport with them, and them letting me know why they came to care, and why they are in the foster home, why they're not with their family.
And so you did that with all three of the children. That was AP, SP, and PP, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as SP, did she give you any indications of what she wanted to have, why she was there, and what she wanted to happen on that visit?
Yes, there were. I don't have my notes with me. I can pull that if you want. So it's been since June, but yes, they all SP, PP, and AP, all of them mentioned to me that they've been to multiple homes, and they were in foster care because their parents were fighting, and they've been to mom and dad were running away from CPS, and they stayed away, and they were hiding because CPS wanting to take them away from their parents. So they were in a shelter, and then they came to the foster home that they are in right now, and so it's because there was domestic dispute and violence in the home, according to them.
So going through, I'm not going to go through every visit. Someone else might do that, but I will not. At that time, did Miss SP say that she never wanted to leave this house and felt happy and loved on June 12th?
Is that okay if I go back to my notes and check?
You
can-
may, if it will refresh your memory. And
Okay.
Once your memory has been refreshed, if at all, then let us know. Just don't read from them to testify.
Oh, okay, okay. Not June 1st, not June 12th, but throughout my time with them, she has.
Okay.
Yes.
Now on June 12th, what is easier for you, to go by date or go by child?
Oh, well, yeah, by child. That'll be better because I don't have the.
Let's do that. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That'll make it so much easier for you.
Yes.
Okay. So, so back to SP, June 22nd was the next visit. Is that correct?
Yes.
And during that time, what kind of activity did you do during that visit?
Oh, I don't recall. I'll have to go back to the notes because we do several activities. So I don't recall specifically. Yes, it's get to know me. Get to know me.
So during that session, you asked a lot of open-ended questions. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And one of the questions that you asked SP was, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? And do you remember what she responded?
No, I can go to the notes and check, but no. She would like to live in a mansion with 1 trillion of bunnies because she loves bunnies.
And also during that session, you had asked her if you could have one wish, what would it be? And do you remember what her response was?
Is that the one that says, what do you wish your parents knew about you?
If you could have one wish, what would it be?
That's another, that was from another sessions there.
Okay, because in the therapy notes that I have, would
What
it June from June 22nd? It's one of the questions, and that's the one about a real me and another me.
Yeah, yes, the real me. This, yeah, it's another that was another it's the family. This one, it's what she said she would like. It's like there's two of her. One of her would stay in the foster home, and another her would be with the mom and dad. So she kind of want to split herself to be in the home with the foster mother because there she felt safe, and then another her she wished would be with her family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there anything else about that visit that struck you positively or negatively about Miss SP in the home situation?
SP was more, she was very vocal that she was the peacemaker. She was the caretaker, peacemaker of protecting AP and PP.
Okay.
And there was a lot of that, when she would talk, there was a lot of that. She felt like she was the one protecting the siblings.
Protecting them from who? Or from what?
From the fighting, from bullying.
Fighting from who?
Mom and dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an
And
also, is that a recurring theme throughout the therapy sessions with SP?
Yes, SP and PP mentioned more about the whooping. PP mentioned a lot about being whooped, and SP also mentioned about, it seems like SP is more aware of like mom and dad is fighting over a boyfriend or food. She was more articulating in regard to some of the specifics of why the mom and dad will fight.
And that would be SP?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I may say, even last night when I asked what she would like to change about her, after talking about Thanksgiving, I asked her what she would like to change about her family. She literally said the fighting, the crying, the hitting. And I said, who does these things? And she said, mom and dad. And at the end, she says, everywhere we go, someone is fighting. So she's very vocal about that. About there was definitely some domestic dispute. Now the fighting, she didn't
domestic
say.
Dispute or domestic violence, would you say?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. With the hitting, for me, that was an evidence of violence.
And also, did they ever indicate when she said that she would had how to help AP? Did she mention to you ever about because there's a lot of issues in this case about continued behaviors in all these different homes. One of them being, the children will urinate on themselves or defecate on themselves. Did SP ever indicate that that also occurred at her own home before removal?
I believe so. Wow, I need to, the reason why I didn't print this out because my printer is not working. I believe so. There was more of that when they were at the shelter and when they came to care. But for AP, there was some of that in the home because they knew, well, they would share that AP is autistic, is special needs. So there was a lot of attention and caring for AP, especially SP would tell me that she used to take care of AP, help take care of AP at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did she also have to help her with AP's? Did SP have to help with AP's anger issue?
Yes, to help her calm down, because AP told me I'm autistic. I have anger because of that. She cannot control her behavior, and then so she has anger problems because of her special needs. She's the first one to tell me that she's special, and I said, "What did you mean by that?" And she told me that she's autistic, and because of that, that's where her anger is coming from. So that was one of the things we were working on, some learn some coping skills when she has big emotions, so we can work on that, not to be physically abusive to her siblings, because when she does, that was one of the problems that we had in the foster home with her.
And that was with AP. I know we're switching around here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
that's okay. That was with, I just want to make sure that it's clear on the record that
Yes.
part of that was just that was AP during one of her sessions that you worked on, correct?
Yes. The reason why it's a little bit mixed is because they would share about, SP will talk about AP and PP. They will talk about those hitting, kicking, and choking in their sessions with me about each other.
Okay.
Yes.
Now there was a session, and I know there's quite a few sessions. In the sessions, I mean, during that too, we're not gonna, try to hide anything. The children love their parents, don't they?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I encourage them for them to continue to have a positive view. One of the things we talk about, the difference between behavior and a person. So they love the mom, they love their dad, they love their families, and both of them told me that they want to go home.
Okay.
And yes, they want to go home back to their mom and dad, and so there's no question about that.
Now, Miss SP also during a session in end of July 26th, was there an indication that something about foster care and that she wanted to be separate? Is there something that ring a bell for you? Or do you need to refresh your memory?
Oh yes, she wanted to stay. She wanted to stay in the home also, because I think that moment there was something going on with Pauline was making her angry and mad. So she wanted the foster parents to be the foster parents' children to be her brother and sister, and want Pauline to be her cousin.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you aware of their are you aware of their any of their education or school issues, or is that not something you address in the therapy sessions?
Well, there is both of them, PP and SP. They tell me that of course they don't know how to read. So there's 2 weeks ago, I think it's in the notes, she tells me that I have 6 people at school who's teaching me how to read. So it seems like they are behind with schooling in that. There was a little bit of behavior, but not major at school. I think they love going to school and they love to learn. So we didn't have a lot of behavior issues at school that I was reported by from the foster parent.
Okay, but it's the children indicate to you that they love school and going to school?
Yes.
Okay. Has there been any indication from any of the children during your therapy sessions of any abuse, neglect, mistreatment, anything like that in the foster home that they were in with Miss Barton? And I'm also including AP in that.
No, not in my knowledge, no.
Okay.
No.
So can you describe SP for me?
Oh, yeah. Very smart, caring. She is like she will tell me, she is the one who's always standing in the middle of AP and PP. She is she's outgoing, very friendly. She is, if it's mentioning about school, she wants to learn. She wants to know how to read. She loves her family. Even with AP not being in the home, she will tell me she misses her, but she doesn't miss her hitting them and the fighting with her. But she's a very caring, sweet young lady, and very brilliant. And yes, very outgoing.
Now, was there an incident that was reported to you during therapy on September 13th, and that something about because it ended up with an injury to SP? that had to
Yes,
be
I recalled arriving in the home, and SP ran to me in front at the front door and said, "Look what AP did to me." And she showed me her eye, and I said, "Well, let's go upstairs because we meet upstairs, and let's talk about it." And then she shared with me that AP had pushed her on the railing and causing that. So by the time I got there on that Wednesday, it was the incident was already reported to the agency and then to the state, and so we processed that. So I personally did not report that because it has already been reported.
Okay, and then during the therapy, you kind of addressed that with each of the children, and did you try to come up with different coping behaviors for the children that they could utilize?
Yes, we did. We talked about that, and if any incident that happened, they always share that with me. They always share that with me, and then we'll talk about that, and then coping skills, different ways that what they can do better next time.
Including, I think there was some types of relaxation therapies. You just have a whole, can I say, a mixed bag of therapies and tools that you utilize to help these children process and learn how to deal with their anger issues?
Yeah, it's very eclectic. Like even for the past 3 weeks, sometimes I play relaxation music while they're coloring. And last night, both of them asked me now, they know to just, can we play some quiet music? And I will just play that. And that helps them to focus and to calm down. And I can see a change with them when I play the music, when we play the relaxation music. And we did guided imagery one time. So that was a good session as well.
So now on November 8th, this was one of your most recent ones, visits with SP.
Yes.
So that was, you had asked about, I guess, about happy and sad or things like that. Can you explain to me, I know you had said that, about going home, but what about that visit struck you as not concerning, but can you tell me about that visit with SP? And you were, I guess, talking about going home or something like that and how she would feel.
Yeah, she mentioned to me how she would feel sad. There was sad and mad. She would feel, I think it's again, because she's a people person, so the relationships that she had formed with the foster family and relationships she had formed with the teachers at school. So she will feel mad and sad about leaving them because she felt like she had a pleasant time in the home. So she would feel, let me read. She said, "I will feel sad because I am living with all the people. I will feel sad because I'm leaving all the people that I've met in foster care, but she'll be happy to go home to see her brothers, cousins." And it was interesting. She said she'll feel more excited to see her auntie, uncles, mom, and dad. So yeah, there's going to be some negative emotions for her because she had formed a bond with the foster parent and the people at school.
Did it also strike you? Did it strike you in any way that the way that she listed about people who she wanted to see or excited about seeing?
Yes.
And tell me why.
It's since working with her, the people that made her feel comfortable and safe and loved her, she easily bonded with with them. Even with me, sometimes when I go to the sessions, they will say that was the highlight of their day, and it's not. It's like they can get quickly bonded with somebody who gave them any positive, healthy attention. And AP is like that. And even Pauline, I'm sorry, even for PP, she gravitates toward who's giving her that attention, who's listening to her, and she craves that. So there's all three of them. And in the home, I think with the foster mom, it's interesting that how Pauline feels connected with her because she does things for her, like her hair, the clothes. She's always the one who's showing me the shoes and things like that. So she feels bonded with people that give her attention.
So when you met with the children, did you meet with them upstairs? Was that in their bedrooms?
The first session was in their bedrooms, but after that we've met in there was a more, because I don't feel comfortable meeting them in the rooms. So I've met with them upstairs. I think there's it's kind of a family room, but that's one of the room that one of the kids sleeps in. So there's a few beds there. So when I go there, we just set the little table there. That's where I meet with them.
Okay, but the children will show you that they had adequate clothing and shoes and that nature in the home?
Yes, I would. They would always ask me to come and see that their room is clean or not. and even last night, when Pauline told me her response to what would she like to change about her family, she was saying, one of her answers, she says that she wants my room to stop being messy. So she wants her room to be messy and not to be messy, and she wants mom and dad to stop fighting. That was her two answers. So she likes a clean room.
Well, so we're going to segue now into PP. We've discussed PP a little bit, but there are a few sessions that I wanted to kind of highlight a little bit, I guess. Sure. So PP on June 12th, that was your initial visit with her. Yes. And during that session, did she indicate to you why she came in to CPS?
She said, I came to CPS because she said, I have purple dots all over my butt. I stayed with my mama and my aunt, and I got whoopings. So she came to CPS because she got whoopings and she had some purple dots on her and her behind.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay. And in one of the notes that I've mentioned, that I sent last night, she mentioned someone about Uncle West, that she was in bed with Uncle West and he will whoop her. So she mentioned a lot about whooping. Pauline did. I mean, PP did. So there was a lot of whoopings she would mention throughout the sessions, the time with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was from when she talked about that, who was giving her the whoopings?
Yes, mom and dad, and some of them are some of the other family members. And the other 2 weeks ago, she said Uncle West. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Because like she said, they've been to several. She was one who tells me we've been to a lot of homes.
Now, on June 22nd, do you remember where, that's again where you get to know them, correct? And you ask them a lot of the open-ended questions. So on that one, you always ask them if they could live anywhere in the world. Do you remember what PP's response was?
PP's response was, go to Zizi's cousin's house.
So, and then is there anything that she wanted her parents to know, that she wished her parents would knew about her?
Okay, let me see which one. You know, this one is my family puzzle. That's one that they had shared a lot of. Oh yes, no to spanking my butt.
And what is her saddest memory that day?
Like PP has this facial. She's very when you look at her face when she's talking about those negative emotions, she literally will show you that facial expression, and she will say that I feel sad, and then she'll put her little face down and will show that that she's sad about that, and that's one thing that she would she wanna no more whoopings, no more whoopings. And so with her, I don't know what age the whoopings, the severity of the whoopings or what, because parents whoop their kids. So I am not sure how severe it was for her, but it was traumatic for her to remember those whoopings. And another thing, she was not getting them at Miss T's house. So there was a good thing. And that's another thing. They like the foster homes because there was no whoopings there. And all of them knew that.
And is that something that that Miss PP said, that did she indicate to you that in foster home she can't get a whooping, or what? How was that expressed to you?
Well, yeah, all of the three of them, yes. In foster care, we don't get whoopings. We get maybe timeout, or they go to your room. Yeah, they know that there's no whoopings in the homes. And even at the shelter, there was no whoopings.
Now, as far as on June 28th, there was something that was indicated to you, something I wish my mom or dad would do is, and did PP say something to you that gave you any cause of concern as far as a medication from their parents?
One moment. Let's see. Oh yeah, she said something I wish my mom or dad would do it with each other. Sometimes my dad makes me drink medicine. It makes me throw up. I feel dizzy. Medication is a liquid.
But she didn't indicate to you what that was.
No, she did
Did
not.
she indicate if that was something that it was? Did she indicate whose medication it was?
No. She didn't go further with that because she was just saying that it's something that she should. And that's one thing with a lot of children who came from those traumas. Sometimes they just give you bits here and there. And especially for her age group, she won't remember all the details. So she only gives me what she recalls at that moment.
Okay, I'm going to go to July 26th, and this is the Skittles feeling game. Okay.
Yes.
And so, first of all, did the children enjoy the Skittles game?
They always enjoy them.
And what, when you're talking about a Skittles game, what does that do? What type of activity is that for?
Let's see. Well, the Skittle game is it's more in a geared toward making it fun for them. And it says, for example, for every sad, if there's 5 Skittles, 5 things that make them feel sad. It's just a way to encourage them to process their feelings more. You know, with adults, they can talk and on and on. With kids, things like that, allowing them to open up more and to share their feelings a little bit more and their trauma.
So was there something that PP indicated to you that she was afraid of?
Yes, she mentioned that there was a little drone watches me at night. It is on the tree outside my window, flashlight in my room, and creepy baby dolls. And then right after that, she said that she had fun at daycare today and the celebration. So when she mentioned that to me, we talked a little bit more. I asked her if it was in the foster home, and she said no. It was when she was with mom and dad. And I recall mentioning that to the foster mother, and then she said PP sometimes will tell her that she sees things under the car, or she will see things. So I was not clear with if there was some history of psychosis, or if there's any other mental health issues with the family or with her, or what's going on, or if it's her imagination, but that I thought that was very strange when she mentioned that to me. And
did you read the affidavit of removal in this case?
No.
Okay, so you don't. So would it surprise you that part of the affidavit for removal mentioned a man being in the attic at their house?
Oh no, I did not know that. That would have been wow. If I no, I no, didn't know about that.
And then again on August 2nd, did she again bring up a drone?
She mentioned when her mom and dad whooped her and she was feeling sad. Oh yeah, she is afraid of ghosts and the drone at my daddy's house.
And then did she indicate where she used to see it?
Yes, she said the client said that she used to see a drone on the tree outside her window when she lived with her parents.
Okay.
Yeah, so like you said, maybe if I had more information, and that's sometimes I don't even get the psychological evaluation on time, so I don't know a lot of history about that. But she did mention that. It was very interesting that she's the only one who talked about that.
Okay, about the drone, you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
and the flashlights, yeah. And the I don't know if I can say that, but the foster mother would be able to, I don't know if she's going to testify, she'll be able to let you know more of information about when she's with them, what she would say.
Was there a lot of indications to you from the children about the fighting and the arguing, the things that went on with them in the home as far as each other?
I'm not sure which one, but one of them did mention between them there was more verbal. There was a lot of verbal fights when they were with mom and dad.
Okay, and what about the fighting between the children? When they described first of all, did they ever describe the fighting to you that they would have with each other?
Yeah, yes, it's mostly when well, since they've been in the foster home in their rooms mostly, because they share the room, and so it's SP will tell you most of the fightings is between PP and AP. And SP says that she's big enough she can protect herself from AP, but PP cannot protect herself from AP. So she always feel like she has to be standing in the middle to fight to protect PP from AP, because AP thinks she's big, she can bully them. So it's always little arguments like that, and gets physical with them. And I'm not sure if that was the case in the other homes, but definitely in this foster home it was for them.
And is that typical behavior of this age group of kids in your history of being a therapist?
Yeah, there's a lot of when kids are depressed, and with depression with them, anxiety, sometimes they get physical, and if they have witnessed any physical, been in an environment that was physical, that's how they express themselves, they tend to be. So a lot of the kids that I've worked with in foster care, there's the behavior. It's just I cannot express how I'm feeling, so they express it through a physical way, and it's negative usually, but it's a matter of them. It's a negative way of just expressing how they feel with their big emotions. But it's very common.
Is it more common, would you say, with when they've witnessed it in their home before?
Yes, because that's all they know and they see.
Now let's switch gears to AP.
Yes.
We kind of hit on her, not hit. Oh, that was the wrong word. We've kind of touched on that subject a little bit here. Now, AP, your last visit with her was when? Because
Yes, let's see. My last visit with AP was, let's see. I believe it was the 18th of October.
Okay.
Yes, it was the 18th of October.
And and you stopped seeing her because she moved out of the region?
Yes, because she moved out of the agency had asked me to do a 14-day, because we felt that the physical was getting increasingly worsened with her, especially with SP, because SP again was protecting PP from her. So there was the SP is like, she'll tell you she's strong, she can fight, she can protect herself. So I think so as AP was getting a little bit older, and also SP too, so the two of them, there was a lot of that with them, and I think the AP was not also felt she was older, and then she could hurt them. There was one she said, it was interesting, her response to when she gave her sister the black eye. There was literally, it was just like, I did that, that's so what? There was kind of no remorse with her.
Okay. We're gonna do you know if that's part of her her diagnosis of being on the spectrum, or is that something you don't know?
It probably is, but I don't know. Okay. But one thing that I do know, she will make she'll said, I'll work on it, Miss Benjamin. So she would work on using her coping skills. So she would not hurt them, because she said one part she hurts them, and another part she said, I don't want to hurt them because I love my sisters. Yeah.
Now, you first met with AP again on June 12th. And so during that's when you're kind of getting to know them. And yes. Was there something on June? There was a couple things on June 12th that did it strike you as something that needed to be worked on, or that the parent should know, or what she's worried about?
Oh yes, with AP, there's the whole concern about her parents' finances. So she mentioned that my parents are broke. So she felt, part of her feels like she needs to help them financially. So I thought she was the oldest of the other siblings, but as you can see, she has older siblings. But somehow she felt that she needs to help them because they don't have money. And she was saving her credit card. She received a lot of gift cards, and she wanted to save. She had like 11 gift cards, and she wanted to be able to give them to her parents so they will have so they'll be able to have money to care for them. She even showed me the gift cards so she can give it to them.
Is that something that at that time in June she would have been 10 years old?
Yes.
Is that something that a 10-year-old child needs to worry about?
Oh, no.
Now, again, June 22nd, we're going to go. That's your get to know kind of session with the puzzle. And so for AP, you kind of asked her again, if you could live anywhere in the world, where did she want to live and why?
Oh, yes. She wants to be rich. She wants to have an apartment, a restaurant with a hotel on top of my office. And then she just want to help homeless people, save our world, our community. I will create my own world, no killing and kidnapping, no bullying. And so it's, again, so she wants, it's the emphasis for me. It was just like, I thought she was the oldest, it's just the oldest child, seeing how mom and dad are struggling financially. And throughout my time with her, she doesn't mention that all the time, but when you look at my other notes, it always come back. Always come back for her. Where PP is the whooping and the drone. And so each of them have this specific things you can tell that's worried their mind. And for her, it's the finances of the family.
So for her, it's the financial stability, would you say? Without her being able to say it, not knowing the term?
Sure, yes. Yes, sometimes they don't have to go very specific, but you can tell what's the main, you can tell what's the main issues for them, what's troubling their minds.
And did she also indicated one of her saddest memories?
Oh, yes, my parents fighting.
And did she indicate during that one did she have an explanation of why she urinates on herself during that session?
Let me see if she said that. No, not much, but I recalled one of the sessions she mentioned that happened when she was with her parents. So this one here, it wasn't just when they were in foster care. And I think also SP mentioned that she used to help mom and dad help AP when AP does that, when they were with her, when they were with mom and dad. So if it's true or not, I don't know, but that's what they share with me. And as you can see, some of the sessions, they are 1 hour. There's a lot of things that are said, so I try to put some of the information that I think.
Well, there's good stuff too, correct? I'm not trying to highlight all the.
Yes.
Said about the parents during the sessions. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to be, but I represent the children, and
Yes. No, I understand.
And let me ask, Ms. Benjamin, do you still see AP?
No, I don't see AP. No, since let's see.
When was the last time you saw her?
October 18th.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, Ms. McPherson, my understanding is we only have Ms. Benjamin until noon.
Yes, I'm trying to hurry up, Your Honor. I am.
So please do, so others can ask her questions as well.
Yes, Your Honor. And is AP the one that indicated about the parents fighting a lot and running from the CPS?
Yes, she was the first one to mention that to me.
And did she indicate that they went to, where does she indicate they would run to?
Let's see.
Objection for relevancy, Your Honor, to hearing on placement.
Sustained. Next question.
So, given the, are you even able to make a recommendation today as far as placing these 3 children with the parents?
I know that the court had ordered mom and dad to do sub services, and I'm not sure where they are at with those services. And definitely, if their mom and dad complete their services and the kids can go home and be safe, like last night when I met with them, they just want no fighting. They just want to return home, but no fighting, no hitting, and to have the clean room for PP, just like an environment that would be safe for them. Yes, and but that their well-being is being met, that they are safe, and they are brilliant, smart kids, and just giving them a chance to be able to excel in life. So I would say yes, if mom and dad have completed the court order services and they get the help that they need.
And if they haven't completed a BIP assessment, would that be a concern for you?
Yes, because they would need to. I don't know the reason why they're fighting. It's the kids are saying that, so there's definitely some disputes and some issues going on with mom and dad, and those things are negatively impacting them, and the trauma, the emotional long term on the kids. That's one of my concern as well. So as long as the parents are able to get that help for them, it's for them, and also that will allow them to be a healthier parent for the kids. Because being in foster care, there's a lot of those fightings and domestic things they're not seeing. So returning back home, it won't be healthy for them.
Now, as far as having a stable employment, is that also something that the children have expressed to you, or at least one of them has expressed to you as a major concern?
Yes, yeah. So that they'll be able to, mom and dad doesn't have to struggle financially. The AP doesn't have to worry that mom and dad doesn't have the money to care for them.
Does that also include having reliable transportation?
Sure, yes. I don't know if they do.
Plan?
Yeah, I don't know if they do. Yes, that'll be, of course, be beneficial for the kids. Will be great for them. That's part of the care for them. Yes.
And what about if they haven't, even if there's some argument about services not being complete based on a lack of services being available or different referrals, is still therapy sessions for the parents and parenting classes important for these parents, in this case, for a good reunification with any type of placement with the parents?
Yes, and one of the things I would recommend is a family therapy. With mom and dad and the kids, and so that's for them to be able to express how they feel, because a lot of those things maybe mom and dad did not realize that the kids were observing. The children, they observe mom and dad. They don't have to say anything, but they're observing that. So definitely continue therapy for the kids, and mom and dad getting a family counseling for them and individual, and making sure that their safety and well-being are being met, so they don't have to come back to care. All three of them at the beginning, they said they've been, I think it's PP who mentioned, we've been to 1,000 foster home. I know it wasn't that many foster home, but it's the stability of being able to go home and stay with mom and dad. For me, that would be perfect.
What would it do, though, if the children were sent home and they had to be removed again from their parents' home?
Oh, definitely, they'll be more traumatized, and we probably will see more behavior, and it'll be more hurtful for them, because if they return home, they don't want to come back to care.
I believe that's all I have, Your Honor. I'll pass her as a witness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Walker.
A few questions. Ms. Benjamin, I believe you said it was SP, and how old is SP?
I show she's 9.
She's 9.
Okay. And I believe your testimony was that she was very smart, caring. She's been more like a caretaker.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what was interesting, you said that you testified that she wants to know how to read. Is it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And there was the consistent about testimony in regards to no more fighting and no more hitting or no more whipping. Or
yes.
Kids getting whippings.
Yes.
Did you interpret that basically the kids are saying it, and especially SP is, I want to be a kid and I want to be able to just go to school and learn and not having to, basically it almost seems like take on the parental role. Would that be a fair assessment?
That would be a fair assessment in her world. That's how she see it in her mind. If mom and dad give her that, I'm not sure, but in her mind, she feels like she needs to be to protect her two sisters.
And was it concerning, and I believe this was, you testified that this was PP, that she would have to sleep in bed with her Uncle West and he would whip her.
Yes.
Did she say how often that would occur?
No, she did not. She let me see. She just abruptly just say that. And again with her, it's more of whooping was a big deal for her. It's a lot of repetition in regard to, it wasn't just mom and dad, there was other of the uncles that there was a family member that she stayed with before they came to the shelter, and she used to get whooping from them as well. I'm not sure which one of the notes. So and she will say it's because she didn't listen. So she wasn't listening. So that's part of the discipline, I guess, for her.
So did it seem to you that the kids were the benefits of the adults' anger? You said that she had whippings from parents. They didn't want any more whippings from parents. Then they're getting whippings from relatives.
Yes. Yep. And even with her saying with PP with the purple dots all over my butt when I got whoopings. So apparently, yes, there's communication, there's physical communication in regard to, and all those things are usually happens, it seems like, when not when mom and dad are happy, but when they are not mad and angry. And there was a part where SP mentioned there was a time that mom or dad thought mom was cheating on her. She even gave that example. I was just like, oh, how do you know all this? So there was an argument about that. And so there were definitely some anger. It seems like some anger going on in the home, and that's how they display those aggression.
And would you say that it would be detrimental to the children's progress if they were returned home too soon?
Yes. And too soon would be if they have not getting the services to help them. Just like we've been working with the kids on a healthy way of communicating, of using coping skills when they are angry, because as they were taught, it's okay to have those feelings, it's okay to have those emotions, but there's different ways that we can display them in a healthy way. So if the parents definitely would know how it would be for them to display their emotions, and so that the kids won't be in harm's way.
Yeah. And you believe your recommendation was that there be some family therapy?
Yes, ma'am.
And how important do you feel, or let me ask it this way, do you feel that there needs to be some family therapy prior to the children returning home?
Yes, I have other cases I've made that recommendation, even when the children will have visits, and with the department, maybe one of the visit can be the parents can and the kids can start having a family therapy and help the kids to start processing, because again, all those are informations the parents did not know the kids probably were sharing. So now they know what's going on. So it will be good for mom and dad to understand that they love them, they care for them. They just did not like the some of the choices and behaviors that were unhealthy. So that impact negatively the family. So that would be a great way to help them.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Shauna.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McCatherine.
Just Benjamin. My name is Brian McCatherine. I'm attorney for the mother, Amanda Denman.
Yes. Hello. Good morning.
Hi there.
Hi.
In advance of your testimony today, whom all did you meet with from the department or ad litems in regards to what you were going to testify to today?
So can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Who all did you meet with in advance of your testimony today?
Virtual, I mean, not face to face, but I have spoken to the Miss Michelle McPherson And about, yes,
All right. And when did you speak with Ms. McPherson?
Ms. Pearson, I'm sorry.
Recently?
You want the date? I can check for you.
Just, was it something right before this hearing or before last Monday's hearing?
Not before last week.
Last week, okay.
Before, yes.
Did you discuss what your testimony would be today?
No,
Okay, and how long?
not really, because I don't think she knew what you guys were gonna ask. No.
Okay, and how long?
But she did mention to me that I would be called. She did mention to me that there was gonna be a hearing and she would like for me to come and testify. Yes,
Okay.
what I know. Yes.
All right, and so other than Ms. McPherson, you hadn't met with any caseworkers or any other participants that are here on this screen?
No, sir.
Okay. You had testified about domestic disputes that came up in your sessions. You recall that?
Yes.
Did the children describe those domestic disputes as physical fighting contact between mom and dad?
Yes.
And hitting.
Yes.
And did they say that they saw these things occur more than once?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And so you characterize that as violence as well, correct?
Yes, according to how they shared with me in their mind.
Okay.
It wasn't pleasant.
And which girls expressed that to you?
All three of them.
Okay. So
Yes,
you inquired to the 6-year-old about domestic violence in the household?
No, she shared with me. She's the one when we do the talked about feelings, for example, the M&M games and the Skittle games and some of the activities. And when we talk about emotions and feelings, she would bring those whoopings and who does the whoopings and things like that. All of three of them. Okay. So I don't bring domestic violence to them. They shared with me when they are processing their thoughts and feelings with me.
And did they also share with you that the girls are violent with each other?
Well, I'm not sure I want to use the word violence, but they do get aggressive with each other, especially when they were in the foster home.
Well, if we're using physical contact between mom and dad as being violent, why are we not using the same between siblings striking each other?
We can.
Okay.
If you want, yeah, if you want to use that, that's fine.
All right.
But it's go ahead.
Okay, so are you aware that the girls are physical with each other?
Yeah, they share that with me.
And are you aware that that occurred in multiple foster homes as well?
When they were at the shelter, yes. And then, of course, definitely in this foster home, because I did not, as I mentioned earlier, they said they've been to several foster homes. I did not do a history of the other homes, but definitely their behavior in this current home that I was more concerned about.
You indicated that it would be traumatic if the court placed the children with the parents by virtue of this hearing, but then had to be subsequently removed. Do you recall testifying as to that?
Yeah, if they return home?
If they returned home and then were subsequently removed.
Yes, this is as a LPC working with foster care, I've been having a lot of children going home and returning back and forth. And so I observed there's more trauma when they return back to care. And especially with those 3 children, they mentioned that they've been to several homes. So for me, of course, I'm not predicting the future, but I would assume that that will be the case for them. If they return back, they're probably, because they love their mom and dad, they want to go home and stay. So they would not want to come back. So
are you aware of the number of times that these children have been moved?
I believe from their end, they told me they were with aunts and uncles and they were in foster in a shelter, and they've been to this foster home.
So would it be news to you if these children have been moved around 6 times?
Say that again?
Would it be news to you if these children have been moved around 6 times?
No, it will not be news, because when they tell me several times, in their kids' mind, I don't know what several means. They didn't give me a number. But
Okay.
from my knowledge, that they've been to a shelter and they've been with aunts and uncles.
And you didn't receive any of that information from the department as to how many times these children have been moved?
No.
Do you think that that's something that would be important as part of your therapy to understand the trauma that these children have experienced?
Well, yes, I think just even the first time they move from from my observation and my experience, even the first move, it's traumatized for them because they're not with their parents. So that's it's traumatized for them. So after that, even if it's 2 or 3, 4, 5 times, it's still hard for them because they're not with their parents. But that would be very helpful for me. But it would be the first removal. It's hard on kids, on children.
As part of your therapy, were you able to make diagnoses on these children?
No, I did not.
Okay, so if I'm looking at a progress note with a diagnosis, where did that diagnosis come from?
It came from the psychological evaluation. When I've met with them on an initial session with me, there was already a psychological evaluation that was conducted, and so I requested a copy of that.
Okay, and do you know what the diagnosis was for these children?
Yes.
What is it?
For Avery, it was adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct, and she has
Initials again. I'm sorry. I just want to remind you.
Adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct.
Okay, so that's AP.
Yes.
Okay, what about
And
SP?
she has I'm sorry, sir. And she has autism spectrum disorder for the second one.
And what about SP?
SP.
Would it be news to you if it was the same adjustment disorder for SP?
Yes. No, it probably, one moment. Yes. I wanted to give you the right. Yes, it is.
Okay. So, and would the same be true for PP?
No, PP is the primary is adjustment disorder unspecified.
Okay. So, is it accurate to say that all 3 girls have an adjustment disorder?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to the court what an adjustment disorder is?
Well, I did not diagnose them with the disorder, but
My question was, what is it?
It's difficulty adjusting from home to foster care. It's just having a difficult with their emotions and conduct, how the moves are impacting them emotionally and causing conduct problems with them. So that's what that is.
In summary, would a lack of permanency or a lack of a permanent location be a summary of what your answer was?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I believe so. And that's one of the reasons why, if we have that disorder and going home and returning back and make sure that the parents, for example, I don't know where mom and dad are with their services. And that's why I'm a big supporter of them getting the services that they need. So the kids doesn't have to come back to care and having more trauma and more disturbance with those adjustments. Because that's what it's.
As a therapist, how do you relieve or how do you treat an adjustment disorder?
Well, that's a wonderful question, because how I treat that, I work with foster children, and again, I can see them for 3 or 4 months or a few weeks, because again, it's a continuation of treatment for them. Those who stay in care, we continue to provide therapy and services for them. And then when they are court ordered to return back to their parents, I always make the recommendation for therapy so they can continue with the adjustment. Now, not from mom to dad, but from foster care, now return back to home. Because even now, if they return back to mom and dad, it's also an adjustment for them, because I don't know if they're going to return back to the same home, reconnected with mom and dad. So it's still a long process for me that the kids will continue to get therapy, even through the adjustment, returning home with their parents. Oops, sorry. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, as part of your therapy, did you at all involve the parents or engage with the parents?
No.
Are you aware of the number of in-person visits that these children have had with their parents since they came into care a little over a year ago?
I'm not aware of the amount, but one thing that I do know that when I go to the homes, I always ask the foster mother, did the kids have visit? And I will always ask them, did you have visit with your mom and dad? They will tell me they had virtual visit. Even last night, I asked them, and PP told me she did. And then SP told me that something happened with the computer, and so she didn't have her visit, so she's gonna have her visit again. So I always make sure that I ask the kids how their visits are and ask the foster parents. So I don't know the specific amount, like
Would
the
it be
numbers.
concerning to you if the children had had maybe one visit in person with their parents over the last year?
Say that again?
Would it
I'm
be
sorry.
concerning to you if these children had only had one visit in person with their parents over the last 12 months?
It would be, but what I'm seeing now with the department, there's virtual. I guess since COVID, since after COVID, a lot of the kids have virtual visits, and at least they are able to have at least contact with them. So face to face, of course, would have been great. But at least in this case, the kids were able to have virtual and see mom and dad.
You were able to recall quite specifically what AP and SP and PP told you during these sessions, right?
Well, specifically, I have to get back to the notes so I can refresh my memory.
Okay.
Yes.
So in regards to, let's say AP, the oldest, right?
Yes.
Okay. She was the one that brought up finances to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so at AP's age of 11, she's aware of the family's finances. Is that accurate?
To the point where I don't know the details of what the family, because some family system is different. Some family, mom and dad are very verbal to their kids about some things that's going on in the home. But I don't know if AP knows all the details, but one thing that she does mention to me, those credit cards, she was saving it for her parents, so because they are broke. So I did not go into details with her to ask her about the family finances.
Okay. So in regards to her mental capacity,
yes,
she possesses such a capacity to understand about her family's finances, right?
Yes, they are both.
She's smart.
Yes,
okay?
yes, somehow,
Right.
yes.
Okay. And so like if you're talking to her, does she appreciate whether or not she is able to tell you the truth? Does she know the difference between a truth and a lie?
All three of them and other working with them.
I'm asking you about.
Yes, she does. Yes.
So when she talks to you,
yes,
you're able to know that she's not talking about unicorns in the sky, that she's telling you the truth.
Yes. And there's moments she talks about unicorn in the sky, but there's moments it's reality for her. And I believe just like you, I believe my clients, when they share something with me, they share this with me. And so I write it down. Yeah.
And so she knows right from wrong as well.
Yes.
Okay. So would there be any reason that you can think of that Judge Lockwood would not be able to meet with AP and listen to what she has to say?
If I will have a problem with that? Oh, no, none at all. Hopefully she will tell the judge exactly how she feels about her family and some of the struggles. So it would not just be for me. Yes, they'll be fine.
So I don't want to interrupt, but I'm just trying to streamline a little bit. You think she possesses the maturity to be able to express the same feelings that she's told you and the concerns to you directly to Judge Lockwood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So similarly, for SP, you said that she was smart, caring, helpful, kind of the caretaker, right?
I can't read.
In her mind, she is. That's what I'm gathered from her. Yes.
Okay. And so the questions that I asked you about AP, are your responses the same about SP in regards to her maturity and her ability to convey how she feels, right from wrong, and those things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you believe that she would be able to talk to Judge as well?
Yes,
and
definitely.
she knows right from wrong and what the difference is between what's a lie and the truth?
Yes, she'll be able to do that.
In regards to PP, you indicated that there was testimony. There was during a session something about her having purple dots. You recall that?
Yes, that was my first initial session with her while she came to care.
Would it be news to you that is the first time in this year-plus long CPS case that allegation has been made?
In regard to PP? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'm not aware. Yeah, I don't. She mentioned that to me.
Are you aware that the children being spanked was not part of the reason why these children came into care?
I have to look back at the psych evaluation, but I believe, I don't know.
Do you know the reason why the children came into care?
I believe there was substance abuse with the parents. I can take a minute and go back and look at the psych evaluation, but
Okay,
yes.
I just wanted to know if you knew.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. One of the things, and this is where therapy is there's an art to it. Usually, it's the kids start processing as they go along, and things comes up, and certain topics you bring in trigger certain emotions, certain behavior that they have not revealed to anyone. And even with the question with them talking to the judge, that would be great. In one setting, I'm not sure they'll be able to sit with him to tell him all that they share with me in the period of since June till last night,
Sure.
because I built a rapport with them. So they were comfortable with me. And as a professional, there are ways that I can bring certain topics or certain things that would allow them to process their own little negative thoughts and feelings. So yeah,
Okay, so you bring up a good point. Do you think
Sure.
that they would have a problem expressing how they feel and their concerns to Judge Lockwood? Or you think they're
well,
pretty-
it depends on it depends on the questions that the judge will ask them. So yes, they'll be happy to respond to the judge, and because all of them are sweet and wonderful, and they're very smart, and they don't lie like that. They'll tell them what's going on.
Judge doesn't look mean, does he? You don't think he looks mean?
No, he doesn't.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Benjamin. I'm gonna pass you as a witness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Good morning, ma'am. I represent the father, Jimmy Perkins. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any services that you are providing the children that you could not continue to provide them if they were in the parents' care?
If they have, all the services I'm providing, yes, they can receive those services with their parents.
Okay. And you do that. I understand that once there's some reunification with parents, there's some continuing counseling on occasion in your practice, correct?
Yes.
So it's not out of the ordinary, right?
No, yeah, I always usually every family reunification, especially, I don't know how they do that with your county, but here in Dallas County, sometimes it's 3 months and sometimes it's 6 months. And I always recommend that, of course, the kids continue to monitor it, and then mom and dad get counseling, family, individual, and the kids continue on with therapy until the case closes. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pest Witness.
All right. Thank you. Back to you, Ms. McPherson.
Yes, Miss Benjamin, just a few things. He had brought up about, I think, if I'm correct, are you yourself able to continue providing therapy services if the children are returned home to the parents?
Oh, no, me personally, I can't. For two reasons. I do not, I personally don't feel like virtual play count therapy I don't do well with that. And so the kids will benefit from play therapy or play activities face to face, have someone there. For their age, for me, it's their age group. They will need to have somebody face to face with them. But some people, they do virtual. But personally, me, I won't be able to continue to provide services for them.
Okay. But you would recommend that they continue with this play therapy that involves also the trauma-informed therapy?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went through some of this adjustment disorder, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you consider adjustment disorder, their difficulty in adjusting from being removed from their home and going into foster care. Is that fair to say what you had testified to?
Yes, and I've seen other children, they are not in foster care, but because of certain life events that's going on, they have difficulty with adjustment with that emotionally or behaviorally. So it's not just foster kids, it's just in general. So with them, even returning back home and with everything that's been going on, it would be perfect for them to continue with therapy so they can adjust back to their family of origin.
And you also mentioned, it was asked of you about, this whole year without seeing in person. If it was also brought to your attention that part of the reason there was no in-person visits was the parents' own choice not to have in-person visits, especially in the beginning of the case, would that affect any of your decisions in this case?
No, it's at least they were able to have virtual and see mom and dad. All three of them, they did not. They were happy to have the virtual, and they were always looking forward to seeing mom and dad. I think it was on the weekends or Thursday or Friday. So they always. It would be great, of course, to have face to face, but the kids never mentioned to me that they wanted to see them face to face.
Okay.
That was never a big concern or something that brought up to me.
Okay, and that's been since you've been seeing them since June, correct?
Yes. Prior to that, I'm not sure if they used to see mom. I mentioned that to mom's attorney. I'm not sure if they had face-to-face visit. I thought they did not have it because they were here and the case is over there.
Okay.
Location,
And
location.
if the children weren't able to return home, is there an issue with them? Would your recommendations be to have? Well, let me ask you this. Sorry. Is there any recommendations as far as where they would be staying, as far as a bedroom situation or anything, because of the conflicts that they have with each other, or they could share a room, or is that an issue in this situation?
You know, when the black eye with SP and AP, AP asked me, Miss Benjamin, I want my own room. If I have my own room, she wouldn't fight with them. So I felt like she was getting, she felt like they were little and she's older. And I really do feel that it would be beneficial for her to have her own room, and the two of them, because now since she's not in the home, the two of them, there's no fighting, they get along better. The two younger ones, maybe it would be great for the two of the little ones to share a room and then have AP in her own room, if that's possible.
And we understand it's not always possible, but ideally that would be better because of the AP's age and her diagnosis, correct?
Yes, yes. Yeah. And also another thing, definitely for AP, someone to that can they would need behavior for her. Also more specialized, someone who specialized with behavior, with autistic behavioral things for her, because she's compared to others, I'm saying she's high in the spectrum. She's high in the spectrum, so she'll be able to do well on her own and have her own little space in her own room, and that'll be great if she returns home.
Do you have any opinion on the children being enrolled in school or homeschool?
They are behind in reading, and so, and even both of them mentioned that. So whichever one that will be able to provide the best education for them, because they want to learn. They're smart, they want to learn, and even AP, she loves going to school. So yeah, definitely school education in school is something that I would really recommend that they get, because they are very social kids. So that's something that they would need. Because I think initially they had mentioned to me, I think it's AP, that she didn't go to school for a year. When school started, they were we talked about that anxiety because they haven't been in school for a year or something like that. I can go check. So it would be, and then so when they did start at school, I was a little bit concerned, oh, how would they do? But they did well.
Okay. I know that it is getting close to the time you have to leave.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
so I appreciate you coming here today.
Yes.
And I will pass you as a witness.
All right, thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Ms. Walker.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCatherine.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Crocker.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Benjamin, we thank you very much for your time and your patience and your assistance in this matter. It's obvious that you love what you do.
Yes.
And I'm sure you are very good at it. Thank you for your help, the work that you've done for at least 3 of our children.
Yes,
so
sir.
You are excused. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you. The same to you and to all of you. And before I go, I just wanted to let you know I'm routing for the kids. And again, is their safety and well-being, and they love their parents. So we'll let the judge and the court make the decisions what's the best for them.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Bye-bye.